Bulgy is the 23rd episode of the third series, based on the story of the same name from the Railway series book, Oliver the Western Engine. This is the last episode of the third series to introduce a brand new character, that being Bulgy the double-decker bus. But I'll go into his personality once I go through the plot of the episode. A special bank holiday is being celebrated in the springtime on Sodor, and many visitors are travelling on Duck's branch line. Bertie and the other engines are all kept very busy, taking them to and from their destinations. One day, Duck is waiting at Tidmouth when he spots a large and unfriendly looking double-decker bus. He grumbles as he sees the happy passengers boarding Duck's train, and states that he would not have brought them if he had known that they would be travelling by railway. He bluntly tells Duck that one day the railways will be torn up and replaced with roads. Duck is shocked by the bus's behaviour and states that Bertie would have never made such claims. The bus is dismissive of Bertie's opinion, declaring him too small in size to be of any use. At Holtrolf, Duck meets Oliver and tells him all about the bus. Oliver explains that he calls the bus Bulgy and simply laughs off his threats. That afternoon, however, Oliver is much more serious since another equally rude bus arrived and has taken Bulgy's passengers so Bulgy himself can take those of the two Great Western engines to the big station. Duck insists that the route is quicker by rail, but Oliver explains that Bulgy apparently knows a shortcut. Later, Duck prepares for the homeward rush, but is surprised to discover he has less passengers. Then Oliver spots them in Bulgy, who also has a sign on his side claiming he is a railway bus. Bulgy leaves and Duck quickly follows after him. Some time later, he is flagged down at a bridge where the line crosses a narrow road, where he discovers that Bulgy has wedged himself under the bridge. The passengers explain that Bulgy tricked them, as he wanted them to think railways were no good. He claimed to be a railway bus, but he would not accept their return tickets. Duck and his crew agree that helping the passengers outweighs the risk of the damaged bridge and cross it carefully. Bulgy begs him to stop as bricks fall from the bridge, fearing it might collapse on top of him. Fortunately for Bulgy, the bridge does not collapse, although Duck sternly states that it would have served Bulgy right for line if it had. Duck soon arrives back at the big station and all of his passengers catch their trains on time. The bridge is eventually repaired, but Bulgy's ways remain unchanged until he is eventually taken out of service. He is now a hen house in a field beside the bridge, and any lies he does tell are ignored by the resident hens. This episode introduces us to another fan favourite among the Thomas community, Bulgy the rude double-decker bus. He is a grumpy, cold-hearted and cynical double-decker bus who firmly believed that roads are superior to railways and would occasionally lie to get himself out of trouble. He even lies to the passengers about being a railway bus despite not accepting their return tickets, since he is what the Thomas community refers to as anti-railway.
"He tricked us," shouted Bulgy's passengers. "He said he was a railway bus, but he wouldn't accept our return tickets. He wanted us to think railways are no good."
And I love the voice Michael Angelis gave for Bulgy in this episode. This gruff northern voice that is really unfriendly.
"Stupid nonsense," he grumbled. "I wouldn't have brought them if I'd known. I'd have had a breakdown or something." "I'm glad you didn't," smiled Duck. "You'd have spoiled their fun." "Ah, enjoyment is all you engines live for. One day railways will be ripped up." Duck felt shocked at such an idea. "We have a friend called Bertie, and he's a bus, but he likes the railway. Sometimes he teases us about it, but he'd never want to see it ripped up." "Huh," growled the bus. "I know Bertie. He's too small in size to be of any use."
It's a voice that just suits the character down a treat.
"Yeah, boo snubs."
Bulgy is based on an AEC Regent V double-decker bus with an open rear platform. And even though Bulgy's friend is never actually seen in the episode, it is said that he's based on an Australian bus, and I love those little details on the signs on him. One saying railway bus, another saying join the anti-rail league, and another one saying free the roads, which would eventually become his catchphrase in the TV series. And the events of this episode are actually based off of a real life event from the Evening Standard. On the 26th of September 1958, a trolley bus being towed through Leeds High Street, Sussex, as its electric pole gets stuck in the underside of a railway bridge. Another great example of Wilbert Awdry basing his stories off of real life events. And all these years later, buses getting stuck under railway bridges is still a common thing these days. Hell, it's happened a number of times in my hometown. It just shows you that some double-decker bus drivers are just too careless to even be having those jobs. And ever since the episode aired, the bridge would become an iconic part of the TV series, making many appearances throughout the TV series after the episode aired. We even get to see Bulgy right beside it as a henhouse in various episodes. It's just a nice bit of continuity for the TV series. The original bridge set itself, along with the Bulgy model, actually has a pride of place in the model exhibition part of Greater Manor's Thomasland. It just shows how popular this set piece and the character is all these years later. And Bulgy wouldn't have a major appearance again until the 7th series episode Bulgy Rides Again, but we'll get to that in a couple of years' time. And Bulgy's character is a nice change of pace for other road vehicles. I mean, before him we had Bertie the bus, Trevor the traction engine, and Terence the tractor. But all of them are friendly road vehicles who have nothing bad to say about the railways. Sometimes teasingly, but they get along well with all the engines on Sodor. So Bulgy's the first road vehicle who's anti-railway, hating railways and thinking that road vehicles are the superior mode of transport. So it's a nice change of pace to get a villain for the TV series who's not a railway engine. A villain who's a road vehicle. And I absolutely love the scene when Duck goes carefully across the bridge while Bulgy's stuck underneath it. Just the fear in Bulgy's face is just so amusing to watch all these years later.
Stop! He shouted. He might fall on me. That would serve you right for telling lies, said Duck.
Whew, that is harsh, but not completely unfair. I also love Bulgy's fate in this episode, being turned into a henhouse as punishment for his carelessness and his lies. It's another one of those episodes that shows you that you have to face the consequences of your actions, and Bulgy definitely gets his comeuppance in this, because if he hadn't stolen Duck's passages and taken that shortcut, he wouldn't have got stuck under the bridge, and he wouldn't have damaged himself. So he brought that all on himself, a further reminder that karma's a real bitch. Bulgy is an episode that I really look forward to watching all these years later. It's an episode that I didn't get to see that much when I was a kid, but got to see it more often in my teenage years. And I'm really glad that I was reintroduced to it all those years later. It's one of the greatest episodes of the TV series in my opinion. It's got a fun new villain, a fun plotline, and a fun accident for said villain. It's an episode that's definitely worth checking out. One that's not to be missed.
Yeah, boo snubs.